That's great. Good evening, everybody. I remain Mr. Tony Igbokwe, a Greenlife distributor. Today, we are going to be talking about, I'm equally a director in Greenlife Multinational, and we should be talking about a very interesting topic this evening, and that is a contemporary medical term that is used almost on daily basis, which is infection. An average individual, every healthy individual, if I may use that word, has one infection or the other. Even your medical professors, they equally have infection. If to define the word infection, I will say that it is actually an inversion and multiplication of microbes, such as bacteria, fungi, virus, and parasites. However, the blood-sucking arthropods, talking about mosquito, they are not left out. The prions are equally infectious agents. What do I mean? For every infection to occur, there must be the infective or the infectious agent, that is the etymologic agent, as well as the host. Then that particular organism must be known as a pathogen. In other words, it must be able to establish or have all it takes to establish itself or its toxins into a host. However, the infection is localized or systemic. What do I mean? It might be concentrated to a particular place. That is localized infection. Or systemic, beat the host defense system and of course of the body. Lymphatic vessels are equally being used to transport themselves from one part of the body to the other. What are the types of infections we have? As far as I am concerned with my little knowledge, I know that we have viruses, we have bacteria, we have fungi, we have protozoa, we have other parasites, such as, like I mentioned earlier, the blood-sucking arthropods, which a good example is the mosquito. We equally have the prions, that is P-R-I-O-N. Excuse me. For an infection to occur, the organism is there. If you look at your screen, you will see the organism, for instance. Then you will see the region which is termed the blue background region, which is termed colonization. A particular organism must be able to colonize the host specific area to be able to establish an infection. If it exceeds that level of colonization and successfully beat the host defense mechanism, because naturally our body system is equipped with the defenders, which most of us know about, and that is the immune system. Whether acquired, innate, or passive, I mean to say, the immune system primary function is to defend your body. The antigens that may be trying to invade. However, If a particular organism has a very high virulent factor, the organism may successfully colonize a particular area and, of course, establish an infection. That an infection is established doesn't really cause much harm. Yes, because your body system still has all it takes to ward off that particular infection, that is, take care of them. Because at that moment where it has established that infection, that particular organism or pathogen, preferably, is now or probably may live as a normal flora. Normal floras are those organisms that live inside our body without causing any harm. At that point in time, it is not considered or seen as a pathogen. But when it becomes pathogenic in your system is when it has the ability to establish an infection. And this whole thing, the second defense mechanism is equally there. If it has infected the body's defense mechanism still has a second chance to deal with that particular antigen via its natural antibodies or acquired antibodies. However, if this same organism is strong enough to defeat the host defense mechanism, then the body may either at that moment, though depending on the virulent factor of the particular organism in question, the body will now be able to, first of all, manifest symptoms of such diseases, of such disease condition rather, because at that point in time, the particular infection has been established. Then the organism is there as a normal flora. Thereafter, the organism becomes pathogenic when it has finally defeated the second barrier of diseases. If you are infected and your body is not competent enough via its immune component to ward off that particular organisms, maybe through phagocytosis or other defense mechanisms. And that particular organism has fully naturalized, as in became part of your body system. The next thing is that it will establish a disease condition. However, there are other factors that determines the ability of a particular pathogen to establish a disease condition. And those factors include its toxins. Either it is able to penetrate, or that the cells they immediately colonize dies, and the toxins are being released into your system. However, if that didn't occur, or perhaps it occurred, we will now talk about how do we know that this thing has actually occurred. That's when you now talk about the visible signs and non-visible, the visible sign, which is symptoms, and non-visible signs, which is now signs rather. It's either it presents itself as symptoms, the visible appearances, symptoms, or it becomes asymptomatic. Asymptomatic simply implies that that particular organism could be there, but cannot be seen. However, its biochemical activities there inside the body would have been ongoing. I don't know if we're getting it. That it is symptomatic or asymptomatic does not determine its activities inside your body. It's either you are seeing it or that you are not seeing it. but that does not stop the activities of that particular microorganism. Some of them, as soon as they get into your body, as spores maybe, or as encapsulated forms, or even in particles like the viruses. What it does is at that moment, because it has gotten a very, very suitable environment, if it is the vegetative spores in terms of bacteria, it will now release the main spores, the main organisms in the spores. The spores are being formed by some of these microorganisms to be able to protect themselves in an unfavorable environment. What do I mean? If the environment is not favorable, the organism will remain inactive. At that moment, you would think it is not in the body, but of course, it has established its presence in the body. The next thing is looking out for now is for that particular environment to become very much conducive. And once the environment becomes conducive, the organism will begin to proliferate. However, before that last stage of proliferation, that is multiplication, as in living its normal lifestyle, if your body system, the immune system at this time again, is able to still take care of it, the organism will no longer be there. It will be destroyed by the immune system. Peradventure, you have a compromised immune system. What happens? Of course, these organisms will gently penetrate and move down to their target organs of the body. And once they hit the target organ of the body, the next thing is that they live their normal lifestyle. It will be interesting to note that these microorganisms are just travelers, just like most of us human beings, moving from one place to the other in search of what? Food and other things that we need to survive as humans. They are equally biological components. They require nutrients just as we do require nutrients for our survival. They require shelter, a good environment that will protect their interests. All of these activities we've been trying to establish about microorganisms is totally dependent on the particular organism involved, its virulent factor. That is the degree of pathogenicity. That is its ability to establish a disease condition. Some of them, when they cause those symptoms, the physical manifestations rather, it is not that they actually want to come and destroy your body. They are just there, roaming about. And unfortunately, you come in contact with those organisms. This brings us to the mode of transmission of these infections. They are everywhere, like we constantly say, that microorganisms, be it virus, be it bacteria, be it protozoa, any of them that you can think of, they are all ubiquitous. They are everywhere. As I am here vibrating, these organisms are in and around me. But the most important thing is that there is a natural established relationship between you humans, or we humans rather, and those microorganisms, which oftentimes we see as our enemies. Have it known to you that those microorganisms have their own beneficial aspects in our existence. Even in our digestive processes, these microorganisms play a vital role. Apart from that, your small intestine has a very large number of these microorganisms. However, if condition permits, any of them can leave the status of being a normal flora to a status of being a pathogen. At that moment, they must have left the areas where they serve the body positively to another area where they now serve the body on the other side of it, the negative aspect. It might equally be noteworthy to state that these microorganisms, your body system can easily do away with them. And that's why every time we talk about your immune system, because that is your internal physiological soldiers, your defense mechanism. This physical appearance is little or a mere reflection of the internal components. If you have a very good immune system, before these organisms will move from the colonization stage to the infection stage and even to the disease state, your body's immune system would have gotten rid of them. Let us assume that this organism has entered the body now, fully established infection. Must you suffer from the disease? The answer is still no, because your body still has the last line of action. That is that same ability or the privilege to utilize the functions of the immune system. If the infection is established and peradventure the carrier now is not suffering from the disease, that same carrier can equally transmit the disease, transfer the infection rather, from one person to the other. These set of individuals are the ones we call the healthy carriers. They are strong physically. There is no physical manifestation of those disease conditions. Under normal circumstances, you could say that such individuals are healthy. But from a microbiological point of view, such individuals are not healthy because they are carrying that particular pathogen from one moment of COVID-19. They say, for your own good, not for another person, not even for the governmental enforcement agencies. No, it is for your own good. Now, we are talking about your immune system being able to ward off these infections. Carrier stage is the most deadliest stage, as far as I'm concerned, in the chain of transmission of infectious diseases. Because at that moment, even the person that is carrying it may not even know that he or she is infected, because there is no visible sign. There is no means of thinking towards that direction. The organism is there. However, some organisms at that point in time are observing what we call the incubation period. They are already there. They are not yet multiplying, yes, I know, but at that point in time, they can still move because they may have started multiplication and you will not know when they start because you never cultured them. You are not observing them physically to see their activities. Now, the host and parasite relationship is dependent on, number one, the immune system, like I've been saying. Number two, the severity of that particular organism, its ability to establish an infection. Some organisms can enter the body and will not be able to establish any infection. They may enter out of 100, about 2 can establish an infection. One of them is this leprosy bacteria, Mycobacterium leprae. That particular organism has all it takes to infect as many individuals as possible without establishing up to 5% disease conditions in these 100 individuals. But however, if it eventually establishes one single disease condition, it might take a whole lifetime to ward off or to treat that particular disease condition. That is how severe it could be. But there are some viruses which at the point of contact, they have infected the person immediately they have established a disease condition which manifests this your normal cold and influenza. Before you know it, it is highly contagious. This person has contacted it, this other person has contacted it. But then it wouldn't take much time for the body to get rid of it because the severity of the disease or the microorganism rather is low in terms of establishing a disease. I hope this point is very well understood. If that is the case, we should be talking about the mode of infection. We have been able to establish or remind us about the infectious agents, the organisms involved. I mentioned about 6, contrary to some of our previous opinions that the organisms involved are just bacteria. Some could say bacteria and fungi. Some could say bacteria, fungi, virus. But at this moment, we've been able to establish to us that we have the ones we call the prions, which are not actually considered as organisms. They are not really living. They are just relatively particles that can form plaque in the cerebral system. At that point in time, they invade or distort the normal cerebral activities of the brain. Some of them could equally lead to more complicated health challenges that could lead to even brain surgery and the rest of them. These are prions. They are equally considered as infectious agents. They can do other things in the body. Then most of us in this part of the world knows what we call mosquito, which are arthropods. They are among the groups of the blood-sucking arthropods, which of course can equally cause serious infection. And of course, about, if not up to 20% of the citizens in Nigeria presently may be having malaria parasite as a prevalent disease condition. However, we should be talking about, first and foremost, the mode of transmission. Some of these organisms, like I said earlier, are just on their own, either fecal, oral route, they get to you through that means, or they get to you through the air, they can get to you through the water you drink, they can as well get to you through physical contact, and many other means. Now, if I touch a contaminated object, of course, the tendency of me being infected is very high. Thank God for the awareness of the necessary agencies that are into the fight of this COVID-19 in our country and in diaspora. A lot of awareness has been created as to personal hygiene. We'll talk about that in no distant time. In body contact, most of the infectious agents get into the host body via the exchange of bodily fluid. Some persons get infected through the transfusion of bloods that are infected. If a patient in the hospital accepts blood transfusion, and unfortunately, the blood is not properly screened, of course, the person will be infected. That is why if you go to the hospital to donate a blood, even for your own family members, or as just a donation to save a life, proper screening must be conducted to be able to find out that all infectious agents that particular individual is free from them. However, among these whole means or modes of transmission, we have the most common one, which is air, water, and body contact. The body contact is most important because we don't know who a healthy carrier is. We don't know who is at that moment serving as an agent that is a healthy carrier. Once you come in contact with them, you get infected. But be it known to you that you have an organism in your body or on your body, on your body, maybe in your palm, does not mean you are infected. Because you still have other things you could do, like using the popular hand washing with soap and running water. Why do we use running water? Because we don't want you to recycle the organism in your palm, which may eventually spread to other parts of the body. So when you use a running water, it flushes them down as you wash gently. When you dry up the hand, you are advised to use your alcohol-based hand sanitizer. That has been over the media for months now. But I want to talk about these aspects of sexually transmitted infection before we get back to viruses. Now, STI is one of the major areas where, roots, where these microorganisms have really destroyed many homes. Because once one contacts these prevalent sexually transmitted infections, remember, infection is different from disease. One can be infected without suffering from the disease condition of that particular organism. The reason is that the organism may not have the capacity to establish the disease. The organism may have all it takes to quickly move and enter into any host, but lacks the ability to establish a disease condition. That I explained earlier when I mentioned a particular organism that is known to be an acid-fast bacterium. One of those major STIs is gonorrhea. Another one is human papillomavirus, PHV. General herpes is equally there. Chlamydia is another devastating one. For the purpose of this discussion, we should, at this moment, just review few symptoms of this organism called chlamydia. Chlamydia trachomatis is the particular organism. It's an intracellular bacterial pathogen and major cause of genital and eye diseases. However, the symptoms are very clear, except at the asymptomatic stage. I hope I've thrown more light on this aspect of symptoms, showing visible symptoms, and the asymptomatic, showing non-visible symptoms. I've been able to explain that. Now, we are talking about the symptoms of this particular organism. I will discuss them, the chlamydia and gonorrhea, at the same time. The causative agent or the etiologic agent of gonorrhea is one we call Neisseria gonorrhea. That is the particular organism that causes gonorrhea infection. Now, if these organisms are able to get to your partner, we're talking about sexual transmission now because it's a means where one can actually get infected. These infectious organisms are prevalent. If you check about, if not up to 70% women, you will get the presence of this organism that I'm talking about. Basically, they are in men, but that of women easily manifests itself than those in men. Clear white, greenish or yellowish vaginal discharge is one of the prominent signs, symptoms of this particular organisms, both of them. For the want of time, I'm trying to take both together. You talk about strong vaginal odor. However, painful urination occurs in both itching or irritable external sex organs. What do I mean by that point? Most times the external sex organ, especially in women, they experience this itching through as in it occurs often. It's not something that maybe whatever, but the fact is that the person intermittently experience this symptom. Pain during sexual intercourse, painful urination. That one is very common among the men. Why is it like that? If a man is infected, and because of this organism is, of course, fighting for its shelter and, of course, its nutrient, the organism will, of course, get to a place where it can be well secured, where you cannot push them away. And because they are sexually transmitted, they find themselves on the lining of the urethra, projecting towards the external reproductive organ, the penis. And while it's on that wall, they stick strongly to the walls of the penis internally. And when you're trying to urinate, the fluid, the pressure that the urine is moving out with, is what will be trying to push them out from where they are, as in their colony, where they are settled. As that force, the pressure is pushing them, they are dragging your internal tissue. And once that is going on, you will be experiencing those pains, severe pains in some cases, during urination. And of course, sometimes due to the lesions that particular exercise may cause, you may be seeing some discharge of blood. Ladies and gentlemen, at that point in time, you should be able to know that someone is suffering from that particular disease condition. How, before we go into treatment, and of course, prevention should be handled first. How do we prevent these microorganisms from getting into our body? First, we must know what personal hygiene is all about and its position in our daily life. Like I said before, to an extent, thank God for the emergence of this strain of coronavirus, which has actually made many Nigerians and other persons in other parts of the world to understand the importance of personal hygiene. First, if, for instance, apart from COVID-19, you are in a hospital environment, number one is that you are exposed to the nosocomial infections. There are some areas you must visit in a hospital environment. You're going to visit your loved one or something. You must protect yourself first before you talk about somebody that is ill. And if you are a health worker, you should understand that disposing those used materials within the hospital environment has a stipulated means of doing them. And you must adhere to such instructions. As Greenlifers, relatively on a daily basis, we handle individuals, patients, or clients, as you may choose to call them. You must first and foremost see how you can oftentimes use your protective materials. Hand gloves, sterilize every sharp object you may be using. Name them. In your kitchen, when you get your vegetables, because I mentioned a particular set of organisms that you can ingest through your food. One of them is Clostridium botulinum, which causes botulism, which is a food poisoning. If it eventually gets into your system and is able to establish this particular infection and, of course, keep on moving and establish a disease condition, then it has succeeded. But basically, most of them comes from fecal oral route. When you defecate indiscriminately, this is the raining season, where rain will, of course, help you to move those feces wherever you defecated, and they will go to places you don't know. And if the person is a carrier of any of those organisms, including the E. coli, a gram-negative organism, bacteria, they will be transported maybe to your vegetables and the rest of them that will go to the market to buy. When we buy them and we use them to cook, because we want to maximize their nutrients or nutritional composition, we neglect that aspect of proper heating. That I can accept with nutritionists. That is okay. But if you must prepare them, you follow the stated guidelines, which include using your salt to wash them. However, due to want of time, we may not really be dwelling so much on that aspect. We will actually proceed to the next stage of this discussion, which, of course, on my list should be the treatment of these particular disease conditions. We now assume that these organisms have successfully defeated all the defense mechanisms of the body and established a disease condition. How then can we now fight them in Greenlife perspective? Greenlife is a multinational company that has all it takes in the production of result-oriented herbal medicines that elicit cure to most of these disease conditions. In terms of infection, and one on my list, sorry to use the word almighty, Cordy capsule. In Greenlife, we have a product which we call the Cordy capsules. Every herb that God created has its own component, as well as demand for nutrients, just like human beings, as well as microorganisms. These herbs we're talking about has the phytochemical components that majority of the herbs has antimicrobial effect, because in themselves, they fight infection. Plants can be infected, just as humans. And they can equally suffer from disease conditions, just like humans. Every herb in this planet has one or two phytochemicals that takes care of microorganisms. But the difference is that some of them has degree of variations in terms of having more antimicrobial effect than the others. Now, in terms of Cordy capsules, it is a homogeneous blend of different herbs, carefully selected antimicrobial possessing herbs to form this broad spectrum antibiotic called Cordy capsules. The Cordy capsule, by the name broad spectrum, has the ability to handle first the gram-positive, gram-negative, even the fungal organisms. That is mycotic infections. They are equally being taken care of by the use of these same Cordy capsules. If you have the case I just mentioned, the first product you should talk about is the toxin tablet. In our line of action, we use the toxin tablet first to clear the body system, to remove everything that may stop proper circulation of blood in the body. And once that is done, if you apply every other product, it will quickly hit the target organ and, of course, give you the desired result. Cody capsules has been used over the years, and the result has been very prominent. Now, the next should be the PID care. PID care, pelvic inflammatory disease care. That particular product is equally used basically for the pelvic inflammatory disease in women. However, it can equally be used by men for the same antimicrobial purposes. The next is the aloe vera capsule. Everyone in my company will appreciate the existence or the availability of this aloe vera capsule in Greenlife, because aloe vera is a plant that has a wide range of action. Of course, it is used in the treatment of infections. We equally have that which we call double ginseng. We have the one we call the prostature. And of course, we have female cleanser. This particular product does wonders in terms of vaginal health. In terms of fungal infection, mycotic infection, cutaneous infections or cutaneous mycosis. Once you are able to get this female cleanser, this particular product, and you're able to get just few mils of it, scrape with a sharp object this area of infection. This over. The reason why we constantly suggest that you scrape the skin, the surface area, is for you to be able to expose the hyphal cells of this particular fungus. And once that is done, in the following few hours, you will find out that the person is okay. At most, within 72 hours, you will see that place cleared. Talk about other skin diseases, skin infections. The same product can equally be used in smaller quantities for bathing. You drop a little quantity of it into your water and use it to have your bath. It can serve for prophylactic measure as well as therapeutic measure. It's a very nice product that you can get from Greenlife Herbal Network Limited. Now, I want to talk about a particular product, which is the herbal steamer. Many of us may not really understand the importance of this particular product, but we that knows much about it and Hydro Technologies' position in administering therapy to your clients or your patients will tell you more about this particular product. First and foremost, I want you to understand that Herbal Steamer is one of the latest products in Greenlife Herbal Network Limited. This product is designed that it consumes just a minimal energy to supply the heat that the water is required to be hot. Once you plug this particular device to any source of power, be your genset or the normal national electrical supply. In a few minutes, it would have gotten very hot. At that moment, you put the herbal steamer sachet. The herbal steamer sachet is a set of carefully selected herbs by the production department of Greenlife Herbal Network Limited. And these herbs, I must tell you, have a very strong effect in upper respiratory tract malfunctions. What am I trying to say? One of them is the one that we call the golden seal. That particular plant, in fact, I don't know how to describe it, but it has all it takes to first and foremost relax or relieve the common cold as soon as it is applied. The flu and influenza doesn't withstand the phytochemicals in that particular plant. It is one of them. We have various other ones which are incorporated in that particular herbal steamer sachet. What does it do? Ordinarily, hot steam has the tendency to disintegrate the formation or the congestion in the nasal system caused by this hardened mucus. One of us in her earlier presentation talked about those that live in Port Harcourt axis. What they observed sometimes when they woke up in the morning, the fluid from their nose, or rather the solidified fumes, which is ash in color or gray in color in most cases. When they started applying this particular therapy, which has no known side effect, the whole thing disappeared. Not only that, hot water on its own, steam, that is hydrotherapy, has the tendency to clear the airways, to kill those respiratory tract infections, infectious organisms rather. And once that is done, the patient is free. Throat irritation. Now, when you add the herbal steamer sachet, for instance, in this case, the antimicrobial effect of those herbs now gives you the desired effect, the accelerated desired effect. As a matter of fact, throughout this COVID-19 saga, I've been selling to my clients this particular product. Now, how do we make use of it? The herbal steamer. I, in some cases, introduce a Greenlife product, which is the white balm. Few drops of that balm into that water can do justice to the respiratory complications. Now, when you combine in severe cases, the balm may be 1 or 2 drops, and the herbal steamer sachets, the desired quantity, into that same chamber, the container, inside that herbal steamer. And the patient is exposed to it. Within 5 minutes, you will get this result we are talking about. It is simple and it is visible. You don't need anybody to interpret it to you. It has the ability to stop nasal allergies. Yes, I said allergies. Relieves headache. I'm having this persistent headache. Maybe I'm really stressed. Go and inhale the steams from the herbal steamer containing the herbal steamer sachets, as well as maybe, though in some cases, few drops of the Greenlife white balm. Bleaching process will stop. Talk about dry or in what is it called? This dry cough. Go and try Greenlife herbal steamer and come back to tell us thank you in a different style. Because these days the thank yous do come with other things. If you are afraid of COVID-19 infection, because as a matter of fact, viruses has a particular property. Many of them can get just one disease in common. Many viruses can give you just one disease, and many of them can equally give you, like I said, the disease produced does not to the virus. It does not show whether it is this or that, because viruses are not on their own living organisms. They are obligate parasites. What do I mean? They must have a host to survive. And their mechanism of operation is simple. It's either they colonize the cells of the host, or they cause the host, or they use the host metabolic substances or pathway to replicate, that is, develop. They do not have a complete system. They are dependent on a host to develop, to produce, to do everything. That is why they are called obligate parasites. When I heard, because I have not done any reasonable work on COVID-19, that they are envelope viruses, they are not airborne, especially that their lifespan in air is within these few minutes. I said, thank to God, a very big thanks to God, because that has reduced its virulent factor. The pathogenicity of the one in this part of the world, to the best of my knowledge, is not as virulent as the ones in diaspora, in some other parts of the world, which you may know better than me. But the fact is that we are here with it. We don't want to believe that it does not exist in Nigeria, because I know it does exist. But maybe its virulent factor is not as severe as others, like I said earlier. The ability of any organism to establish a disease condition depends on its virulent factor. Generally, virus infections are subclinical. They do not result in production of diseases in most cases. They are subclinical because you may not even be able to see them, whereas you are a healthy carrier. Yes, someone may have this COVID-19, but you will not know that you have it, because the particular virus is weak. It does not have the ability to establish that disease because of the stages I showed earlier. The immune component can take care of it. Another good thing about these viruses is that, number one, most importantly, is that they do not have a particular drug. What they use basically for their treatment is vaccines. That is to prevent them or treat them, because the major area of treatment is the employment of the immune system. And once the immune system is able to tackle a particular organism today, if the organism reoccurs tomorrow, that immune system, if it is very active, must have developed the memory cells those memory cells will quickly grab those viruses and trash it. In other words, if you have a sound immune system, you wouldn't be afraid to an extent of COVID-19. And that is why I want to introduce to you another product, which is called the double ginseng. This particular product is very important if you want to talk about your immune system. Phonics is one of them. One of my ego directors extensively discussed phonics in toto and explained its antimicrobial effects as well as its blood circulatory ability. And this moment, I want to tell you that it has the ability to boost your immune system. What about anti-cold tea? We have been using it in various, over various times now because it's been there for years at our disposal, not only during this advent of COVID-19, but we have been making use of it. Another one, because I think we should be rounding up, is the ash cure. The ash cure is only product that is made for your bronchioles. You are having bronchitis, you are having issues with the respiratory system, inhalation and exhalation. You need Greenlife ash cure. That product has all it takes to handle your respiratory complications. At this moment, ladies and gentlemen, I want to conclude by reminding us of the importance of this wonderful product called Greenlife Herbal Steamer. Every family needs that product. Every family needs that product. If you want to learn more about that product, kindly make yourself available subsequently on or during Greenlife BLT trainings. At that point in time, we will have all the time to discuss all the active ingredients in all the antimicrobial agents I have just mentioned, as used and applied in Greenlife Herbal Network Limited. In absence of any other discussion at this moment, I want to say a very big thank you for your time